And I'm for worker cooperatives. I'm not against worker cooperatives. I'm really not. I think worker cooperatives are great, and actually I think worker cooperatives, part of the reason that they're a great idea is because every worker has a real incentive to make the company function, because the better the company does, the more they get paid in a worker cooperative. And actually, right, if you're a worker, you're alienated from your labor. Right? I mean, you just want to clock in and clock out. You don't care about what goes on at your job, right? Your boss man, he got so many hours from you, you're out of there. You don't care how much money they make. You just want to get by. Well, on a worker cooperative where you have a real incentive for the profits of the company increasing, it's actually very successful. I think that's a good thing. Worker cooperatives are good, but worker cooperatives are not the definition of socialism. They exist in socialist countries, and they should. I mean, the collective farms of the USSR, what were they? They were farms. They sold agricultural produce to the state. They were collective. The farmers collectively owned it and sold their goods to the state. Worker co-ops are good things, but they still function according to the market. And in a capitalist economy, a worker co-op could compete with other worker co-ops, right? Because it's trying to make a profit. And say you have a worker co-op and you're making pottery, and there's another guy and he has another, he's making his pottery. You're going to try to outdo him and put him out of business. You need a state central plan. Worker cooperatives are good. I am not opposed to worker cooperatives, but you need a state central plan, right? You need an overall planned economy that is not functioning according to profits. Power plants should not be run for profit. Healthcare should not be run for profit. Banking and the lending of money and credit should not be done for profit. Industries, steel manufacturing, coal mining, any major economic entity should be operated according to central planning and societal good. Other things, sure, I think that, having, for example, the government run restaurants is pretty dumb, right? And you shouldn't have state-run restaurants. Consumer goods, right? Cell phones. If you want to build a kind of state-controlled corporation like Huawei or ZTE to make cell phones and consumer goods, good, right? That some things, sure, there's a role for the market. Worker cooperatives are better because then every employee has a motivation to do their best and to raise the productivity. Worker cooperatives, I think, are better than private enterprise, but private enterprise has its role too. Why should the Soviet model of doing things, it was necessary, and it had its role. It raised standard of living, but also ultimately it comes into a rut. You need to have a market sector in socialist society. You need to let people go out and start their own businesses. You need to do that, but you need the major centers of economic power, the commanding heights, to be controlled by the people. And worker cooperatives should be encouraged, right? But ultimately, yes, you need some level of a private sector. But the economy, the means of production, should ultimately be forced to function for the good of the public. And even those private companies should be under the grip of the state. The state should be controlling them and forcing them to do what's in the interest of society. They shouldn't be allowed to go against the interests of society. They should be controlled. They should be taxed. But you need a private sector on some level or other, right? If not, you end up with what they had in China, with what they had in Eastern Europe, of a layer of people that are smart and creative and feel like they're being crushed and feel like their potential is being held back. And they get angry and they get angsty, and then they become a base of counter-revolution. Right? That's basically what happened in the Cold War. Zbigniew Brzezinski and George Soros figured out how to manipulate people who felt trapped in an economy where everything was run by the government. Right? That's the reality. Sometimes you have to have some layer of a middle class that's controlled. It's controlled by the state, but you gotta let people start their own company. You gotta let people have tech startup firms. And in fact, one of the brilliant things, if you look at socialism in Nicaragua under the Sandinistas, is they've actually allowed, with their micro-entrepreneurship, they've helped a lot of people to start their own businesses. Socialism has enabled people to become capitalists, right? But they're becoming capitalists in a way that they have a good relationship with the state, and ultimately the state can dictate what they do, and so the economy is not irrationally operating according to profits, right? That's the socialism of the 21st century. It is society controlling the means of production and allowing people to unleash their creativity and their brilliance. A market sector that serves society and is forced to serve society in line with the state. Now, someone's telling me they made a meme of Caleb. Well, hey, I like to be memed. I've been memed before. But hey, if you want to post your meme out there, I love memes. They're fun.